country is getting all the more complicated as we hear reports of inadequate infrastructure to deal with the impending health crisis. At a time when health experts are saying Nepal is still months away from reaching its peak, the credibility of the government in terms of preparations to deal with the pandemic has been seriously questioned. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. 17 new COVID-19 cases reported in the country this morning. Total number of cases reaches 32,695. The tally climbs to 160. Blood banks report of lack of blood as collections go down. The public compelled to seek for donors themselves. Central Bank reports of additional 282 billion rupees in balance of payment. Foreign currency reserves to support imports for more than a year. And Berlin hospital says seriously ill Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny appears to have been poisoned. His condition serious but not life-threatening. 17 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported in Chitwan this morning in addition to the 743 cases reported throughout the country yesterday, taking the tally to 32,695. Meanwhile, the death tally has climbed to 160 as 11 more individuals succumbed to the virus yesterday. 4 people from Rupandehi, 2 from Kathmandu, 2 from Sunsari and 1 each from Dhanusha, Morang and Parsa succumbed to the virus yesterday. Meanwhile, the Kathmandu Valley reported 224 cases yesterday, including 177 cases in Kathmandu district alone, 33 in Lalitpur and 14 in Bhaktapur. Likewise, Bara reported 94 cases, Kailali 79, Parsa 35, Chitwan 32, Morang 31, Sunsari 23 and Jajarkot 19. In response to the attack on health workers in the front line of COVID-19 management, the government has said actions would be taken against the guilty party. The prohibitory orders issued in the Kathmandu Valley have created scarcity of blood as collections have been halted. There is a demand for 50 units of blood per day. However, blood banks are running out of blood to fulfill the daily demand. We have more in this report.
The Central Blood Transfusion Center at Soltimode in Kathmandu and other blood banks have run out of blood stock due to lack of collection since the prohibitory orders were put in place. As a result, service seekers visiting these outlets are compelled to return empty-handed. General public are having to arrange for donors themselves.
यहाँ छैन त्यहाँ नमना फोन गर्नुभयो मैले 15-20 वटा 25 वटा गरे कुनै पनि ठाउँमा छैन काठमाडौँ ललितपुर भक्तपुर थापाथली यो महाराजगञ्ज नोभेल त्यो जतिवटा छ जम्मै भाटामा गरिसके अब बाँकी भनेको उही व्यक्ति खोज्नुपर्ने.
Blood donation campaigns, which are considered as major blood collection centers, have been suspended due to prohibitory orders issued to control the coronavirus crisis. These programs on a normal day collects at least 250 units of blood. However, blood collection witnessed significant decline during the 4-month-long lockdown imposed back in March. Furthermore, given the ongoing coronavirus crisis, the number of donors have also declined as donors have refrained from visiting blood banks and hospitals.
सबैलाई चाहिँ हामीले इन्फर्म गरेका छौं उहाँहरु पनि त्रसित भया भयो अब डोनरहरु कहाँबाट आउँछ के गर्छ भनेर उहाँहरुले पनि अहिले क्याम्पहरु आयोजना गर्नु भएको छैन र अब यो जतिसम्म हामीले अहिले लकडाउन भनेको छ त्यो बीचमा डोनेसन प्रोग्राम नभए तापनि अस्पतालमा रक्त संचार केन्द्रहरुमा आफुलाई चाहियो भने आफ्नै मान्छेहरु साथीभाइ खोजेर चाहिँ अब यही पनि कलेक्सन भइराछ अब दिनमा 25-30 वटा चाहिँ नि उहाँहरुले नै सोध भर्ना गरेर उहाँहरुले चाहिँ ब्लड लिएर गइराख्नु भएको छ.
Under normal conditions, the Central Blood Transfusion Center collects 240,000 units of blood in average and it distributes 325,000 units of plasma, Paxil and platelets. Experts have warned of loss of innocent lives if stakeholders do not arrange for time-relevant programs to collect more blood at the earliest.
The government is preparing to bring home Nepalese migrant workers who have been stranded abroad due to expired visas or losing jobs. The repatriation is to begin from 1st of September and the government intends to use chartered and regular flights. Prior to this, around 50,000 migrant workers stranded abroad were rescued, and the government has once again prioritized chartered flights for Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Kuwait, among other countries that have higher number of Nepali nationals waiting to return home. This means these nationals will have to pay a hefty airfare. We have more in this report.
There are around 350,000 Nepalese migrant workers in Qatar, 300,000 in Saudi Arabia and 40,000 in Kuwait. On 20th of August, the government decided to begin rescuing Nepalese migrant workers stranded abroad on regular flights September onwards. However, the government did not include these Gulf nations in the list. This means Nepalese nationals awaiting return will have to take chartered flights back home, the fare for which is 3 times higher than that for regular flights. It may be recalled those among 50,000 rescued back in June had to pay arbitrary airfares to return home. There are additional 50,000 who could not afford the fares then, including 20,000 from Qatar alone.
40-45 डिग्रीको तापक्रम छ र मान्छेहरूले यहाँ कुनै धर्मशाला छैन, कुनै सस्ता होटलहरू छैन जहाँ मान्छेहरू बस्न सकुन्। आफ्नो चाहिँ आवासबाट निस्किनु भनेको उनीहरू सडकमा आउनु हो। सडकमा त उनीहरू एकै दिन पनि यदि बिचल्ली भएर बस्यो भने सयौंको मृत्यु हुन सक्छ र त्यसले गर्दा यहाँ ठूलो मानवीय सङ्कटै उत्पन्न हुन सक्छ। यो स्थिति चाहिँ हाम्रो सरकारको नीति निर्माताहरूले बुझिदिनुपर्छ।
The government has invited criticism for diverting the burden on Nepalese nationals already reeling amid the crisis due to loss of jobs. Meanwhile, the government has cited complications in PCR tests in countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Kuwait as a reason for its decision. Regular flights will be sent to China, Japan, Thailand, South Korea, Malaysia, UAE, Hong Kong, Australia, America and other European nations. The Tourism Ministry is currently preparing for the list of flights to all these nations.
उहाँहरुलाई सम्पूर्णलाई अहिले ल्याउनको निम्ति उडानहरु खोल्न सकिदैन। त्यो गलत कुरा हो। कुनै विश्वमा त्यो भएको पनि छैन। त्यो प्र्याक्टिसमा हामी जानु पनि हुँदैन। त्यसकारणले नै हामीले नियोगलाई के भनेका छौं भने अति जरुरी भएका जस्तो भनौं न जबबाट छुट्यो अथवा म चाहिँ भिसा एक्सपायर भयो अथवा चाहिँ त्यहाँ अरु कुनै कारणले उहाँहरु स्वदेश फर्कनु पर्ने भयो, बिरामी भयो, कसैको चाहिँ घरमा मानिसहरुको आफन्तहरुको मृत्यु भयो, काजक्रियामा आउनु पर्ने भयो, यस्ता विभिन्न क्याटेगोरीका मानिसहरु जो अति आवश्यक छ नेपाल फर्किन त्यसको लिस्ट बनाउनु भनेर नियोगलाई भनेका छौं। अब उहाँहरुले त्यसबाट उम्किने हैन, उहाँहरुले त्यसको जवाफ दिने हो।
The government has said it will use the Foreign Employment Welfare Fund for those who have lost their jobs and are unable to bear the flight costs. Likewise, the government has also pledged to cover the cost of their quarantine. However, as the number of nationals to be rescued per day has been limited to 500, it is certain that remaining nationals will have to bear additional financial and mental burden.
The Nepal Rashtra Bank has said a slack in imports due to prohibitory orders and lockdowns and the strong flow of remittance has raised state reserves to 282.41 billion rupees, while the state had bore a loss of 67.4 billion rupees in the last fiscal year. The increment in cash flow has also resulted in surplus in the foreign currency reserve. The central bank released a report on Nepal's financial status yesterday, which states the foreign currency reserve in the country was just over 1.038 trillion rupees last year, which would have sustained import of goods and services for over 7 months. However, this year the foreign currency reserve has reached 1.386 trillion rupees, which can sustain import of goods and services for over a year. Meanwhile, remittances have decreased by 0.5% this year. The country received a total of 875.3 billion rupees as remittance till last month, while remittances had increased by 16.5% last year. The inflation rate remained around 6.15% last year, which is close to the central bank's projection of 6%. Loans by commercial banks have also shrunk. Loans had increased by 21.1% last fiscal year. However, this year loans increased by just 13.6%. This year, the interest rate of both credit and deposit has declined to settle at an average of 10.11% and 6%. Likewise, the liquidity of commercial banks has significantly increased due to the lack of investment prospects. It has been divulged that higher officials, including the head of Department of Food Technology and Quality Control, have been involved in the distribution of substandard sugar and import of dairy products against the government's decision. However, actions are still due. Agriculture Minister Kantipur has invited quite some controversy himself after the report by the special committee under his ministry that recommended actions against those involved was concealed. The Jaleshwar Customs Office received 72,000 kilograms of sugar in March, which was unusual as sugar meant for Kathmandu is usually sent through Bhairawa and Birganj customs. Out of suspicion, the Customs Office sent the samples to the Food Imports and Exports Quality Certification Office for quality tests. The office recommended not to allow the import of the sugar, citing it had expired. However, the sugar still made its way to the market.
त्यसले नै केस लिइसकेपछि अब हाम्रो आन्तरिक छानबिनको आधारमा कारबाही गर्ने अथवा नगर्ने भन्ने कुरो रहेन, किनभने अब त्यो महत्त्वपूर्ण हाम्रो संवैधानिक निकाय हो र उहाँहरूले नै केस लिइसकेपछि हामी चाहिँ मन्त्रालय भनौँ न, त्यसपछि त्यसको अगाडिको प्रक्रिया चाहिँ अहिले रोकिएको अवस्था हो।
The report prepared by the special committee under the Agriculture Ministry clearly stated that the Department of Quality Control had acted on the interest of businessmen. Critics have pointed out the indifference exhibited by Agriculture Minister Kantipur in all this irregular activity and have said that the scenario would only encourage more businessmen and officials for similar acts.
छानबिन समितिको प्रतिवेदन कार्यान्वयन हुनुपर्छ। छानबिन समितिको प्रतिवेदन के छ भने त्यो चाहिँ सार्वजनिक हुनुपर्छ र यो दण्डहीनताबाट जोगाउनलाई उनीहरूलाई कारबाही हुनुपर्छ। जसुकै होस् कारबाही हुनुपर्छ, नत्र भने अब जसले जे गरे पनि हुन्छ भन्ने खाले गलत प्रवृत्ति चाहिँ विकास हुन सक्छ। त्यसमाले कारबाहीको दायरामा ल्याउनुपर्छ भन्ने हाम्रो कुरा छ।
In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the locals in Sindhupalchok why has the government not distributed funds collected for landslide victims of Juri. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
दिने रे भन्छ, बाँड्छु रे भन्छ, कतिपल्ट चौतारा गयो, कतिपल्ट कहाँ के भर्नुपर्छ अरे भन्यो।
खोइ अब सरकारले के गर्नु भयो है, अहिलेसम्म 7 वर्ष पुगिसक्यो। सरकारले यसो चासो पासो हेर्ने नि छैन हैन। सरकारकै कमी कमजोरी होला नि त्यसमा। अब हामीले अहिलेसम्म केही पाएको छैन, खै बाँड्छु भन्छ, अहिलेसम्म कसैले केही गरिरहेको छैन। पोहोरचोटि एकचोटि बस्यो हाम्रो वडा अध्यक्षले पनि छिटो भन्दा छिटो हामी झिगाउँछौँ भनेर भन्नुभएको थियो, तर अहिले चुपचाप केही पनि छैन।
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: what's your take on the involvement of Head of Department of Quality Control in disseminating substandard goods to the market? Your options are: option A, mockery of the post; option B, political protection; option C, financial motive. The voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.